Good afternoon to all the participants once again for the afternoon session of Phonology-III. We have here in this session 4 presentations, and it will be chaired by Dr. L. Sarbojit Singh. He is an assistant professor at the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Senapati, Manipur. So I'd like to request our chairperson to announce the session open. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monali. Good morning. Today we will have papers. Phonology-III, Section 0, Manipur University. Syllables in Bodogaro, Tibeto-Burman from CIIL. Next one is speech error and mispronunciation in Wipo. Tiasang Rang Tontang Iflu Silong. And last one, consonantal system of Newar and endangered language of Sikkim, will be presented by Papori Rava. Now the session is open, and please, before asking you to read, please maintain the timing, because there will be time constraint for other readers, as well as for the time slot. So let me call upon Section 0, Manipur University, for his presentation on phonology of Talui.
Okay, thank you so much for the time given to me once again. First, let me share my PowerPoint. Okay, since the internet connection is not so predictable in my hometown, Ukru, I'll continue from what I have left in a previous session. So this part I have done. Okay, I'll start from here. Okay, that's research instrument and data analysis. So I use digital Sony voice recorder. I digitize the recording, and then I did format analysis of vowels and voice onset timing of consonants and some others. Okay. So for segmental phonology data analysis, I follow Kenneth Bike's phonymization process. And here, as I've mentioned, for acoustic analysis, I use Pratt software. All right, let me move on to the next slide. Okay, I did not share the minimal pairs of the minimal pairs because of the time limitation. So if you want, if some people want, then you can find it in the whole paper. So these are the consonants, phonemic consonants available in Talui language variety. And you can see here, Talui doesn't have this Z sound. Here, alveolar voice consonant, fricative consonant Z. It should be actually available here. In most of the Tangkhul language varieties, the voice alveolar fricative are pretty much available, but in the case of Talui language variety of standard Tangkhul, it is not available. And one interesting thing about this consonant is that the standard Tangkhul Z sound corresponds with the dental voice fricative consonants in Talui. So most of the standard Tangkhul word that has Z sound will have the in Talui language variety. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, I have given here some of the example of positional distribution of selected Tangkhul, Talui consonants. As you can see here, this l, the, s, j, and p will not be found in the word final position, but it is pretty much available in the word initial and word middle position. And as per some of the findings that I have shown here, fricatives, aspirated voiceless stops, affricate, and lateral approximant consonants do not occur in word final position. Okay, so interestingly, see, in some of the Tangkhul language varieties research work done in the past, the researchers had shown that intervocalic plosive consonants undergo voicing. But as per my analysis, many of the words in the intervocalic position does not undergo voicing, as shown in this spectrogram. Here, if the voicing took place, then we will find this pitch line here. Okay, moving on to the next. Okay, consonant clusters, as happened in most of the Tangkhul language varieties and also in the Tibeto-Burman languages groups. Here, consonant cluster is very, very much rare in Tulu language variety. Some of the examples, some of the words that I find that has consonant cluster in the word initial positions. Here, I have given two examples here. One is Molopai and other is Tergatai. Okay, and here you can see these are some of the very few words that has consonant cluster in the language varieties. And if I insert vowel like n, lo, bai, the sound would be awkward. And likewise, if I also insert vowel here, the rukatai, then it doesn't sound like the language variety word. Okay, so this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the 6 Tului vowels that I found from the minimum pairs that I have listed down here. So, okay, here the different, minimum pairs. Let me just read out. Cha, which means T, Jo, necklace. Here, Kate, small, Gado, far, and Su, place, si, put, Ruk, louse, rock, tame or train. Okay, and this figure is the vowel formant plot of F1 against F2. As you can see, the high back vowel in the cardinal vowel chart, it should be here, but as far as my analysis is concerned, it is a little bit lower than the cardinal vowel U. Okay, so these are some of the findings. There are 7 phonetic diphthongs in Tului. Example, oi, we, ai, au, I, eu, and u. Here in standard Tangkhul, we don't have eu, and yeah, the rest are available in standard Tangkhul. And 6 diphthongs are phonemic in Tului, such as oi, we, ai, au, I, and eu. Eu occurs in only one word. For example, kamyu, a borrowed word from Hunpun variety. In Hunpun, the sound will be a little bit different. It's kamyo, but in Tului it's kamyu, kamyu. Example of phonemic diphthong: pau, news, and piu, sleep. Okay, contrastive phonemes with examples here. Kai means fish, rising dawn. Kai, plow, and mid tone. Kai, knife, low tone. Kai, divine. And here is the comparison of consonant phoneme inventory from Hunpun to Tului. Here, her, available in both the language variety, something which is not available in either of the language variety is this one. There are some few words that has this approximant consonant voiceless. So it is available in Tului language variety, but not in Hunpun. And I interviewed with so many Tului speakers whether this is really a sound that occur in Tului language variety, and most of them, they say, especially the older generation speakers, they say that yes, this is the original. And if I substitute this sound with some other sounds, some other similar sounds, then the sound becomes awkward. And like I've said, like I've pointed out before, the dental fricative, voice dental fricative the in Tului is the sound correspondence of the in Hunpun language variety. And in the previous class, I have said that standard Tangkhul derived especially from Hunpun variety of Tangkhul, standard Tangkhul language. Next slide. Okay, so this is the linear syllable structure of Tului. C1 first consonant, C2 second consonant, vowel is obligatory, the rest are optional. Plus it has all the syllable has a tone. And then C1, the first consonant should be syllabic, minus syllabic, sorry, non-syllabic. And then second consonant, non-syllabic, and vowel, it is of course syllabic. And then optional vowels, the next optional vowel, it is minus syllabic and minus consonantal. And then the third consonant plus consonant minus strident minus lateral plus oral plus nasal and tone, any tone that I have mentioned in the previous slides. Okay, these are the basic syllable structures as I've shown here: B, BV, CV, CVV, CVC, and CCV. Examples are words E and then I, T, my, and nung. Okay, and some of the examples of sound correspondence between Hunpun and Tului. If I say Hunpun, it also means standard Tangkhul. Here in Hunpun, it's Singrot Tului.
Bijan, I think he's disconnected. If you have the PPT, can you please share his PPT in the screen in that slide for now?
Okay. I think he was here.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is almost done. Only one slide left in the conclusion.
Yes, only one slide and then conclusion.
I think again it's network problem with him. 11.
Or if it is too long, then you can just show the next slide because he has kind of shown it already.
Yeah, that's all.
Next slide, Bijan.
She's joining.
I think he's joining.
Hello, Jackson.
Hello. Sorry.
Yes, you can continue from the slide.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see the slide, right?
Yeah, we can see the slide.
Right here in Hungpun, Zingrot, the Lui, the roots, so the correspondence, and this paycheck, and here, sorry, paycheck, it should be actually rising on this one. Sorry, I made a mistake here. And in the Lui, it's paycheck. So, and then a T in Hungpun, a Tei, sorry, and here a Kon in the Lui, a Kun. A comparison of vowel phoneme inventory. See, one interesting facts that I've found about this W language variety is the absence of high central vowel U in Tului. Actually, this is pretty much available in most of the Tibeto-Burman languages, but in Tului, it is not available. And the sound correspondence of U with Hunpun, standard Tangkul U, there are, I think, two sounds that are commandly that are command in Tului language variety that share sound correspondence with Hunpun. One would be U, for example, Aku means insect in Tului, Hunpun, sorry, in Hunpun, and Tului it should be Aku. So U or we are the sound correspondence, some of the sound correspondence with U in Hunpun. Okay, so summary. Tului has more segmental phonemes than Hunpun. The high center unrounded vowel U and high back unrounded vowel. Yeah, this one also sounds similar. U in previous research studies on Tangkul Naga is near high center unrounded vowel U. In the present study, there is no voice positive in Tului from the spectrogram evidence. Falling tone is not found in Hunpun, whereas it exists in Tului. Mutual intelligible dialects of Tului are Ngai Ngu, Somto, Pali, Halan. See, these four words that I've mentioned here are the name of the village, neighboring villages of Tului village. And the language itself is also called with the same village name. With this, I finish my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Saksing.
Okay.
Now it is open for as the presentation is over, open for a question or suggestion to the participants.
Please ask me if there is any question.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sir.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. That was an interesting paper. Thankfully, you could finish today. So I just had a couple of questions. I don't know whether we have enough time. The first is with regard to the voiceless lateral. Yeah. You said it's not there. Oh, it's there in Tului.
Yeah, in some words, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you also have a voiced counterpart, La?
As far as my analysis, I could not find any voiced lateral this sound.
So you have only voiceless.
Yeah, only voiceless. So that's why in the consonant chart, phonemic consonant chart, I bracketed that sound because I could not fully convince that it is actually
okay. Because that's a bit odd because the voiceless lateral is more marked than the voice. So you would actually expect the voice to be there. So maybe you can also check whether it's an allophonic variation between voice and voiceless. The other was with regard to again the interesting correspondence of alveolar Z and dental. Which I think you showed only one example where there is the also a change in the vowel. So from zing to zing. So do you have this change in vowel regularly throughout? So is it the case that, yeah, here. So here you have zing root for talui. So you see that there's a vowel change along with the dental. So is this throughout, or is just a exception?
Yeah, sir. As far as my analysis is concerned, some of the vowels are very much irregular in this correspondence, but some are not. But
Okay.
I don't show the detail of the sound correspondence of vowel.
Yeah, my question is, so from in Hunpun you have E, which changes to a Shua in Talui. So this change, do you see it in other words also, or is it only in this particular instance?
As far as I can remember, I think E sound correspondence is very much irregular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I have other questions, but let's have someone else.
Thank you, Temsel. Anybody?
So, by the way, I did not mention the voiceless that lateral approximants in the chart. In this present chart, I forgot to mention that.
Okay. It's not question section.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This is more or less comparative phonology of Hunpung and Talui. Right.
Yeah.
It's good and preliminary work. I notice is the or some other plosive sounds in the Hunpung, that means standard variety. It sounds dental. How about in the Talui? You have written yes, mentioned as alveolar. The and the.
The and the.
Yeah.
Sir, can you please rephrase your last part of the question?
Yeah, that means in this standard variety, I perceive like this dental ta and dental tha. So how about in Talui variety?
Talui, I think what is in Hunpun, it is the same with the and the in Talui. Yeah, as far as my analysis is concerned.
Oh, same as that of this Hunpung.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a comment to make here also. Yes, in many of the neighboring languages of Tangkhul, as well as Dr. Sarvajit pointed out, in Hunpung variety, ta and ta that you have posed as the alveolar, it's a dental sound. If I'm not wrong, then I perceive it that way. So if it is a alveolar sound, the ta and ta in Talui, that will be very significant.
One neighboring village of Propel Ukrudown, let the particulars one village, let's say Lungher village. The th in standard Tangkhul would be the in Lungher language variety. And closely a close neighbor.
I think you can speak both variety, Talui as well as Hunpung.
When I was saying I could not understand Talui, but as I grow older and older, I can easily understand it. Before
So, if you can provide one word started with this ta in Talui as well as in Hunpung, then that will enlighten us.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
The same word in both variety with starting with the.
I'm sorry, I did not provide
Okay.
Most of the examples here in the slide.
Okay.
In my paper, full paper, I have provided, I think, most of the examples.
No, my point is, if you can spell it out now, means if you can say it, then that will enlighten us the difference between either it's a dental or it's a alveolar. That is my point. Okay, it's okay if you are not very familiar with.
Bijan, sorry, I muted you when admitting Uncle Musel.
Yeah, I can. Yes, it's okay. And here in this tone, this fish and flout, if you can you say these two words?
Yeah, the fish would be kai, and plow will be kai.
Kai.
Kai. So it is rising tone.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, the word for fish is interesting because I think in many the TB in this area, there's very regular correspondence of nga for fish. I don't know how. Is it the same for Hunpun? What is the word for Hunpun? I mean fish. In Hunpun.
Yeah, in Hunpun, only the tone difference. It's kai.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
With this. Same spelling, but
all right.
And all the words that I have shown here as an example of tone contrast, the same. These are the same spelling of Hunpun spelling, but only difference in tone. For example, right in Hunpun it will be kai, and then knife it will be kai. So yeah, here same tone and the same spelling.
Ellen, you mean in written form in Roman script?
Yeah.
Okay.
And even in transcription also, but the only difference is concerning about this the first two words. It is only the tone difference, but the rest is two. I think same with tone as well as the spelling also.
I think Sahani has a question. He raised the hand.
Yeah, that will be the last question by Sahini.
Okay. Thank you for the time. I could not attend the first part because I was assigned to take a class. So anyway, your presentation is very interesting, and I just want to know if there is any like coda in the language.
Any coda in the language?
Yeah. Any consonant at the final position?
I have something right here. Yeah. Okay. Like for example, nasals. Yeah, here.
Okay, so like not
ending with the plosive sounds.
Okay, so I think that this is very different from like the standard Tangkhul.
Instead, Tangkhul,
the Ukrul variety, I think that has it has.
There are many words that ends with
check syllable. Yeah, and what about the tone pattern in this, where there is this consonants? Is there? So here you just did it with open syllable, right?
Open syllable.
Yeah. So is it possible to get these 5 tones with the nasals in the coda, like you showed me the example?
I think it would be there, but
okay.
Right now in the slides I haven't mentioned anything.
Okay. So I think it will be good if we can get to know when we say there are 5 tones, like how rich is these 5 tones in the in this very variety or language.
Okay.
I think that will help all of us to understand more, especially the tonogenesis, or if the tone is disappearing or it is introducing in these related languages as a whole.
Okay.
I think it will give a better picture. Yeah. Thank you so much for your.
To add one more supplement here. Yes, in all your tone example, it is ending with the vowels. If you can provide some more examples which end with some consonants also. So where you can find all these tones, or is it only possible in the words which ends with the vowels? Yeah, just to make that point. Okay.
Okay.
Over to Tamu.
There was Paichak, Paichak was there, the traditional dance.
Yeah, paycheck.
Okay. Sorry, I may miss that example. Okay.
In Telugu, it will be paycheck. Difference in tone.
Okay, the section. You have to note down all those things. You have done comparative study. Now you can study separately for this Taloi variety. After inserting those suggestions for further studies. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, you, sir, and everyone.
Shall we move to next?
Yes.
Yes, Tamu. Yeah, please.
Okay. Next is Alindra Verma.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So,
or I'll be sharing the screen for.
Yeah, Dr. Manali, yeah, kindly could you share the slides for me?
This topic will be syllables in Bodo Garo group.
Oh.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm going to speak on syllables in Bodo Garo. Still, it is a preliminary study on the topic. Bodo Garo is a group under the Assam-Burmese branch of Tibeto-Burman subfamily of Tibeto-Chinese family, according to Grierson 1927. That includes Boro, Deuri, Dimasa, Garo, Borok, Rabha, and Tiwa, which are spoken mainly in Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya, Nagaland, and West Bengal. These languages are spoken by 39,83,013 people in India, according to Census of India 2011. These languages are also spoken in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. They have many genealogical unique linguistic features that include the occurrences of syllables. However, data from only the 4 languages of this group, namely Boro, Dimasa, Kokorok, and Tiwa, are taken here. These languages are very closely related in phonotactics, lexical word formation, and grammar. The aims and objectives of this study includes collection of syllables in Bodo Garo, especially Boro, Dimasa, Kokorok, and Tiwa, as I have already told. Analysis of structures of the half or reduced syllables and the full or normal syllables that participate in syllabification. Examining the sonority constraints, finding out the optimal pairs of syllables that form syllables, and examining reoccurrences of syllabification. Anyway, being a preliminary study on the topic, it has limitations. The data presented here are collected through observation in different language situations. Some of them are collected from secondary sources like vocabularies, glossaries, dictionaries, and grammars of the concerned languages. A syllable is traditionally defined as a type of word comprising one major syllable and one minor syllable. According to Matishap 1973, in the context of Southeast Asian languages, a syllable comprises one phonologically reduced or minor syllable followed by one normal or major syllable. As the term syllable suggests, it defines as 1.5 count of syllables formed in course of the comparative method or internal reconstruction of syllables, or due to different resyllabification processes. It takes place because of different grounds, such as lessening the syllable count of multisyllabic basis of an agglutinating language, simplifying words for.
Sorry to interrupt, Olin. If you
Yes.
can instruct me in which slide I should go time to time, then it would be convenient for all.
Okay, actually, I'm actually still on the title slide, so you can go to the title slide. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. The different grounds of syllabification, formation of syllabification actually include like genealogical linguistic tendency to condense the syllables of polysyllabic words, etc. According to Blaine's 2019, as aspect of a Sino-Tibetan word structure, underlined in a variety of sources is the trend toward monosyllabism in the eastern end of its ranges. So this is the next slide, this one, yeah, intro. Most of the Boro-Garo languages are monosyllabic, whereas disyllabic and trisyllabic bases are also employed, some of which are subject to resyllabification. In these languages, the syllables are commonly formed as the intermediate structures of the fusion of the syllables of the disyllabic words or the second and third syllables of trisyllabic words into monosyllabic words containing complex syllables. From Metishop 26, Michan 2012, and Brunel and Peterborn 2012, syllabicity can be said to be an intermediate stage between disyllabic and monosyllabic stages diachronically, and in terms of reducing the length of a word is found in Endel, who shows about how words change through elision. For example, gaham, gaham, dham, ham. This is from Boro, but this example doesn't signal any kind of syllabification. So can you go to the next slide, Monali? Yeah, that next. Yeah. According to Blaine's 2019, Tibeto-Burman languages have got their origin of syllables in Austroasiatic languages, and the evolution of syllabism, according to him, is CVCV to CCV to CV. Next slide, Nali. Yeah, as observed, Boro-Garo languages are mostly monosyllabic but highly agglutinating, and there is a tendency to reduce the phonological structure of polysyllabic lexemes or words. The very common structures of the syllables in these languages are CCV and CCVC. For example, Blai in Dimasa, Kro in Dimasa again, and Sri in Boro. This is for the structure CCV, and for CCVC we can find like Purun from Tiwa, which means God, then Kukling from the same language, which means dragonfly, and so on. So can we go to the next slide? Yeah, okay. Still, we can discuss here a few things. Like from these examples, it is clear that the most common structure of the minor syllables that participate in the formation of syllables in the languages is CV, which is phonologically reduced. As observed so far, it is always aligned to left edge of the disyllabic source lexeme. The structure of a minor or reduced syllable is characterized with the absence of complex onset and coda. It might also be characterized with the absence of tone, which needs to be checked. According to Hayes 1995, all syllabic words are iambic, and hence minor syllables are never stressed. Now, coming to the optimal pairs of syllables that take part in forming syllables, Usually, sesquisyllabification is observed in case of disyllabic or trisyllabic source lexemes in these languages. The selection of optimal pair of syllables in a word which has 3 syllables follows the order of the syllables only. The second and third syllables of a trisyllabic word form the sesquisyllable. The preceding syllable is reduced, losing its open nucleus, whereas the following syllable retains its normal form. For example, Sugri from Tiwa, Singsri from Boro. But in case of derived trisyllabic source lexeme, it is observed that the syllables that constitute the base participate in the formation of the corresponding sesquisyllable. For example, the word Puzari from Puzari. However, sesquisyllables in non-native words are not much observed in this study. So can we go to the next slide, please? So this part is actually a little about sonority constraints on sesquisyllabification. Sonority sequencing principle that and minimal sonority distance are two important factors in course of syllabification and resyllabification. According to SSP, as Selkirk 1984 says, in any syllable there is a segment constituting a sonority peak that is preceded or followed by a sequence of segment with progressively decreasing sonority values, whereas MSD determines the sonority distance between consonants co-occurring in a complex onset. The appropriate sonority hierarchy is glide, then liquid, then nasal, then fricative, then stop, then again glide, liquid, nasal, so. The minimum sonority distance between two consonants that makes it comfortable to articulate should usually be 2. That is glide to nasal, glide to fricative, liquid to fricative, liquid to stop, or so. There's a sonority profile of some sesquisyllables in BZ can be seen as put in the table. In these examples, the minimal sonority distance between the consonant of the onset clusters is found to be maintained, and the sonority sequencing principle is also followed but violated in some cases. However, sonority seems to play a role in sesquisyllabicity. Next slide, please. Another point is that the sesquisyllables in BG may be formed due to synchronic or diachronic and comparative method or internal reconstruction of some disyllabic lexemes. However, diachronic reconstruction in terms of formation of sesquisyllable is found to be rare. Because disyllabic roots are very much rare in these languages, and derived disyllabic stems tend to reduce to monosyllabic in no course of time. The relevance of comparative method and internal reconstructions with the formation of sesquisyllables in BG can be observed in these examples. So the comparative method is the method of comparing two or more cognate languages based on their lexical and grammatical elements to discover correspondences relating sounds, while reconstructing a lexical or grammatical unit of a cognate of Boro-Garo, another cognate of it may help in forming a sesquisyllable. We can see the examples here. So here you can see the word khana is in Boro, but the word is actually in Boro it is disyllabic, but in Dimasa it has become sesquisyllabic as khana. So can I go to the next slide, please? So internal reconstruction is an attempt to reconstruct earlier phonetic and phonological stages of a language on the evidence of language alone. Sometimes syllables are formed within a language due to internal reconstruction of some existing lexical elements and resilification. These are the examples. Anyway, these kinds of observations need a special attention from the historical point of view. This part of the presentation may be discussed and considered for further study. Next slide, please. Yeah, in some cases of internal reconstruction and resilification, as set of words in the languages concerned seem to have sesquisyllabic elements, but they do not have them in real sense. Because they do not exhibit any reduction of syllables. Rather, they exhibit formation of complex monosyllables with the help of deletion of, the nucleus of minor syllables. So these are some examples of this type. Here, each of Sikh, Map, Gud, Nar, and Pil in 8A through 8E respectively are resilification of two open syllables. The preceding syllables remain as it is, whereas the onset of the following syllables occupy the empty coda position of the preceding open syllables after resilification. In these examples, the resilification taken place is CV, CV to CVC. Okay, next slide, please. So reoccurrence of sesquisyllabification. This phenomenon takes place in case of trisyllabic basis. Firstly, the second and third syllables form a sesquisyllable, and then it turns into a major syllable, and again it forms a sesquisyllable with the first syllable. For example, Sikhala in Boro, it become Sikla, then it becomes Skla. In due course of syllabification, sesquisyllabification, the nucleus of the reducing syllable is deleted to lose the full syllable quality, whereas any consonant sound of it is usually not deleted. But if the clustering consonants, that is the complex onset of a sesquisyllable is geminate, then it turns into its a single counterpart. For example, the Tiwa word free to free, then free. Next slide, please. The lexical versus grammatical syllables in sesquisyllables. It is very clear that sesquisyllabification occurs in lexical elements only, but the very tendency of these languages to reduce agglutinated words does not limit to a pair of lexical syllables only. Rather, several examples of grammatical pairs of syllables are also found undergoing sesquisyllabification. For example, the Boro word Mansifra, it becomes Mansifra. Here, the root Mansi means man or woman or person, whereas its suffix fur and a are plural number and nominative case markers respectively. The combination of these suffixes, that is fura, has been resilified into fu and ra, and these two open syllables form into a sesquisyllable fura. The Dimasa word Butsa, which means his or her son, is formed with the pronoun bo and sa, which is sometimes considered to be a combination of a grammatical syllable and a lexical syllable. It is sometimes very difficult to categorize B prefix, B prefix into inflectional or derivational prefixes. Another Dimasa sesquisyllabic word like blai, which means leaf, is derived from a plant body part categorical prefix ba, and a bound root lai, where the categorical prefix is sometimes considered to be a grammatical syllable, which is not correct, as categorical prefixes are fossilized form forms of class terms that are lexical in nature. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is only I just wanted to show.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. I'm just. This is the last slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is just I wanted to show that if syllables can become monosyllables, it is actually a subsequent possible process, but not prominent yet in these languages. Okay, so these are next slide, please. So these are several points that I conclude with. Syllables in Boro-Garo, especially in Boro, Dimasa, Kokorok, and Dimasa, maybe Tiwa, may be considered to be added. The forms of the corresponding elements as the source lexemes of respective syllables, syllables are also used in the language synchronically. It is worth mentioning about the presence of syllables and their corresponding source lexemes in these languages, that it has been an advantage for these languages in composing metrical lines that need to follow metrical fit. For example, the lines in haikus, classical sonnets, etc. So can we move to the next slide, please? However, syllables in the languages concerned form very systematically following certain rules, such as prominence of tone features, participation of optimal pairs, sonority constraints, etc. Anyway, it has been observed that reoccurrence of silification may rule out these certain rules sometimes. Lexical pairs of syllables are prominent in forming syllables in Boro-Garo, whereas grammatical pairs of syllables are found very rarely. This investigation doesn't come across any syllables which is formed with a lexical syllable and a grammatical syllable. However, further analysis of enough data is necessary to carry out more detailed study on silification in Boro-Garo. So this is the list of references. And before I conclude my presentation, I just would like to take this opportunity to thank the author whom I follow in this area of study, the reviewers, the chair, and the organizers. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alendra. Very interesting area of study. It's open for questions or suggestions.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
It's me.
Yes.
Bujuti.
Yes.
Hello. Good morning, Alendra, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah.
Sorry. Good afternoon. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting paper, and for the budding scholars like me, I very I enjoyed especially the slide and that lexical versus grammatical syllables. It's very interesting. Just I'm little curious about the term belai, which what is the notion behind that, making it the protoform of belai, means in which language you found the belai, or the meaning leaf, the belai.
Yeah. So, if you go across Boro-Garo languages, you can find it. Okay. So, even in languages like Tiwa and Boro, lai is a free word, a free form, free root, but it is, I think, not a free root. It's a bound root in Dimasa. And the B prefix, this is actually a categorical prefix. We can discuss it in categorical prefix. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alendra, for this wonderful presentation. So I have two quick query. So first one is, can you figure it out any regular paradigm of occurrence of this reduced syllable that we can say, like in household or like in fauna, flora, means some regular paradigm that can be occurred with this kind of domain. That is my first query. And the second one is in correlation with the preceding, following vowel, can you figure out some correlation like vowel harmony because of the this what we call minor syllable? I don't know whether you're getting my second.
This is actually an interesting point. Actually, I wanted to include the harmony part actually, but due to the time constraint, I actually removed that part. Actually, what happens even in Dimasa, you can see how the vowel harmony is actually disappearing because of this syllabification. Like the word gazao. Gazao, it means red, but initially it is from gazao, actually where ga takes the vowel copied from jao. Okay, so it's a kind of disappearing process of vowel harmony also. So yeah. And about the other query, what was the first query?
Occurrence of a regular paradigm of these syllables, like in different domains, like ma in particular domain or ko in particular domain.
That can be can be a great idea to go through those domains actually. But the problem with me is actually I have a very limited data with me.
That may be the reason.
Thank you
so much.
in
the future.
Yes.
In some other language also, it is very regular. In some literature, I have gone through that. If ma occurs in only related with the art, like mud or something like that, and in celestial bodies also, a particular syllable is associated only with them. That cannot be used in other domain. That's okay. That you can look into future. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Olin. Okay, since the PPT is here, so I can go back to that.
Yes, please.
Meantime, there are some compliment and query in the chat box now.
Yeah, regarding this basha, it's a fused word, right? Because ba is the possessive prefix. So here, it is actually the reduced form of the genitive pronoun boni. It is not bosha actually. It is boni basha. That is the boni sha. I mean, so boni sha is actually basha. So I think if you can give, I mean, blai is fine, but for the gloss here, it will be
basa is acceptable. The resultant word basa.
Resultant is fine. Just that in that gloss, that's the surface will be boni. Bonisha.
Actually, what happened with me, Dr. Monali, I actually studied this part as personal pronoun categorical prefixes. So I actually took it under third personal categorial prefixes. That third personal pronoun categorical prefixes. So through that I actually thought that as it is in the resultant word basa, it is the genitive part is not there. I thought that I should keep it like this only. Okay, thank you so much anyway.
Yeah. But it's interesting because we have the third person ba in basha. And when it is my son, it is ansha. So it is actually ani plus sha. So the process is different there. But we don't have nasha. We don't have your son nasha as a cluster
Okay, thank you.
And I have left a comment in the chat box for the rhotic possibility in Dimasa class. So sesquisyllabic cluster. You can have a look.
Okay, thumbs up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do you have any question?
Yeah, just one, two quick comments. Thank you, Alindra. That was a very interesting
thank you so
paper.
much.
And though I haven't looked at this in detail on the notion of sesquisyllables, we're very all familiar with this. Just two things. The first is in many of the South Asian languages where we find this, the explanation is with regard to stress and rhythm, foot structure. So again, just something that to think about, maybe that in the languages of Northeast, even in Bodo-Garo languages, we don't know that much with regard to stress systems. So it's interesting to look at this aspect of how the system, the rhythmic effects, how strong or what the effects are in these languages, because I mean I know, but I think that with regard to stress, we don't have very good accounts in these languages. Second is with regard to representation. So if you look at when we talk about phonological representation, sesquisyllable is basically a syllable and a half. So half, where does it actually go? How do you represent that half syllable? So in your slides, I think slide 12 or slide 15, you've also shown that it's actually not a cluster. So basically, it's separate syllables.
Yes,
where
yes.
you have the first in one syllable. So if that's the case, then you have something like a s or a b. How do you represent this? Because it cannot, I think, be a part of the nucleus of the first syllable. And then if it's not, you don't actually have a nucleus for the first syllable, right? So things like this. Like I said, I've not looked into the details of this, but representation wise, it throws up interesting questions. So yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, sesquisyllable as a whole is represented by that omega. It is called omega, I think. Yeah. Then for the half syllable part, actually, I did not find out the tradition. Actually, I have to go through some more work on it. And then what did I do? I just followed like Blaine's 2019, because he also used the dot only, which actually is used to separate the syllables. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is a lot of questions or suggestions in the chat box. Please go through, and you can update your area of study. And the last one, this may be aerial context from Mon Khmer languages. You can look up for further study. Thank you, Alendra.
Okay, so thank you so much. Yeah.
Let us move to the next presenter, Kesang Rang Tontang. Please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think I'll share my screen, Sir Bijen.
Yeah, please go ahead. And your voice is clear. Yeah.
I think she's asking. Yeah, asking for the slide.
Okay. Take this.
Is it visible?
No, we are not visible. Yeah. Vision, do you have a slide?
Yes, if she wants me to share, then I can share.
Okay, sir, then you please share it because.
Okay, just follow on then. Just hold on. There are lots of windows open in my system. I hope so. Everyone can see the PPT.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Tesang, you can go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah. Please carry on.
Okay, so I just got locked out for a while. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shangran Tontang from FLU University, Shillong, and I'll be presenting on speech error and mispronunciation in Uyghur. So coming to the introduction. So meanings of words in tonal languages like Uyghur, which is obviously a TB language, are highly dependent on the tone of words and syllables, and slight change in the tones result in semantic change of words and distortion of meaning of the sentence as a whole. And speech errors could be of different types and on their different prosodic levels, could be phonological, tonal, syllabic, lexical, and so on. So in this paper, I will try to describe the speech errors in Uyghur that I've come across, and I will try to find the possible factors responsible for it. I haven't really gone deep into the analysis part, but this is just a preliminary study as well. And so we'll look at the common speech errors and pronunciations. Next slide, please. So Uyghur is one of the minority languages spoken in the southern part of Manipur in Tengnapal district by approximately not more than 2,000 people. And Uyghur and Khoibu are synonymous, since I'll be using the word Uyghur in the following sentences that follow. It is a highly endangered language because of the population of the speakers, which is very less. And so the Uyghur villages are in close proximity to Maring, Kuki, and Métis speaking communities. Also, the people are mostly bilingual or multilingual, and the languages that they mostly speak are Uyghur, Meitei, English, Maring, Tangkhul, Tharo, Kuki, or even Hindi in some instances. And intermarriage among these tribes are very common, and almost about 500 to 600 speakers are settled, whether permanently or temporarily, in cities such as Imphal, Delhi, Bangalore, etc., for jobs and education purposes. So the method of data collection is the data that I have presented in this paper are not through direct elicitation, but through natural discourse, like in natural speech utterances. And collections of stories from people who have encountered the speech errors. Consultants were also asked to reproduce the common kinds of errors that they encounter on a daily basis. So coming to phonological error, that is tone distinction. So in Uyghur, this error in tones is a very common speech error, which results in mispronunciation and hence the semantic change. So in this first example, 1A, the speaker says "Kaina to hirane" when she meant to say that "Kaina to hirane." So there's a slight change in the two syllables, "nato." In Uyghur, "nato" means younger sister, but in "Kaina to" means stuffy nose or congestion of nose due to having a cold. So both the sentences are actually grammatical. However, in this context, the speaker was trying to say that she has nasal congestion because of a cold, but because she was not able to distinguish the tones, she actually said "Kaina to hirane" when she actually meant to say "Kaina to hirane." Next slide, please. So, like I said, both the sentences are grammatical, but in that particular context, she made an error because of the inability to distinguish the tones. Also, when speaking or when uttering the sentences, the rhythms between the prosodic words of both sentences and the time lapse between the words are almost indistinguishable. Hence, kainato and kainato both sound the same, except that the tones are different. So next slide, please. In these two sentences, Momo lau kushu yongra means Momo has gone to burn the field, as in to get rid of the weeds before plantation. And in this second sentence, it says Momo lau kushu yongra means Momo has gone to punch the field. So in this in these sentences, even though the two sentences might sound grammatical, the second sentence, Momo has gone to punch the field, is actually grammatically very absurd because one does not usually punch a field. In this context, the speaker was trying to say that Momo has actually gone to the field when someone was asking, like, where has Momo gone? So in this context, because of the tone of kashu and kashu, she has made an error in producing these two sentences. Next slide, please. And in this context, it is when a husband has come home and brought grocery. So the wife says to the husband that the herb that you bought does or has.
Teshangran, you're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fine now.
So the wife actually said that she was supposed to say Naimaroi kaluda anna wa makne in the high tone anna, but then she made a mistake and said that Naimaroi kaluda anna wa makne, and then in anna in Wipo means nose, and it is grammatically absurd and semantically absurd to actually say that the herbs that you bought does not have a nose. So because she was not able to distinguish the tones between anna and anna, she has made this speech error. Next, please. In this context as well, it was a grandfather was visiting a woman. So she was asking him, she was telling him that I should cook some beans that she has kept. So she was supposed to say that patay kay be lung khâu ther thonga. But then she made this error and said that patay kay belung kauter tonga, which belung literally means clitoris, and this actually produces a very inappropriate sentence, and it is also semantically absurd. Next, please. And also, a person was heard saying this. He saw 4 people coming, and he meant to say that he was supposed to say "Thami pili manglay hoy," but instead he said "Thami pili manglay hoy." And in Wipo, pili means to retract the skin, or in this specific context, pili is used to mean the retraction of the male genital foreskin. So and in all these above instances, a person who is not frequented to this kind of tones tends to make this kind of mistakes. Next, please. And so, and in this another instance, in Wipo, there are names of people that have the same pronunciation but different tones. The differences in the tones or the syllables distinguish the names and the people. So, Momo and Momo, Tete and Tete, Darmoy and Darmoy, Moshel and Moshel. So all these names mean the same thing. It's just that according to the tones, it also signifies different people. In this case, there is no change in meaning with the tones except for Momo and Tete, which are the general kinship terms for the firstborn, elder, sister, or brother, respectively, a brother and sister. However, when we say Momo and Tete, it refers to the names of people. So the tone differentiation in the other names is solely for the purpose of distinguishing the names of the respective persons. Next, please. Another instance of a mispronunciation is vowel length alteration, where long vowels and short vowels are often mixed up. So mainly is the long vowel that usually becomes shortened in the other forms of the verb, mainly verbs. So in this word kacha, which means eat, here the root is cha, and the vowel in cha, that is a, becomes a in the following words such as chara, to have eaten or ate, or chamak, not eat, and chamin, ate and chakakau, have eaten. Then changui, want to eat, changui mak, do not want to eat. So in the following forms of the word cha, of the root cha, the vowel actually becomes instead of a. But then next, please. So but then there are also some roots that do not undergo this vowel length alteration, such as kawa, to go. Wa, the a vowel continues to remain as wamak, wangwi, or wakanga in the other forms as well, or kala, lara, lamak, kasa, samak, etc. okasa actually means hot. I forgot to gloss it. So this inability to recognize what are the words that actually undergo vowel length alteration result to mispronunciations in the speech act. So in this kind of sentences, a speaker is unable to recognize the lexical roots that undergo the vowel length alteration. Next, please. Another common error is made when reading the Bible and singing hymns, because reading is not a common practice in Wipo, because we do not have it, it's not taught in formal settings or anything. So it's not a very common practice. And so speakers tend to make the speech errors when they read it. So there are many vocabularies that are not used on a daily basis that are found in Bible scriptures and in hymnals. So speakers are mostly introduced to this kind of words through reading, and they are not familiar with the actual pronunciations. And sometimes the spellings of the word do not correspond to the pronunciation, especially in terms of the vowel length. Next, please. For example, for the word savior, it is spelled as Rankapipu, and it is actually pronounced as Rankapipu, but when people say or sing the word that has this word, they tend to say Rankapipu or something like that. And this kind of similar instances happen. The Bible in Wipo language has not been revised since its first publication in 1988, which is just the New Testament. And so there are a lot of loopholes in terms of spelling, rendering to pronunciations while reading. Next, please. And there are a couple of special cases of speech errors where a case of mild spoonerism was also observed. Here, for the word begin, it's actually Royo, but this girl was heard pronouncing as Yoro. So when she was asked if she meant to say Royo, and she did not realize that it was actually Royo, and she thought it was actually Yoro. So she could not recognize this the sequence of the vowels. The syllables. And consonant clusters are also observed to be simplified or shortened. For example, for the word work, which means so, people are heard pronouncing it as toe, like instead of toe. And for thangai, it was also heard as pronounced as thangai. So there are also words beginning with th sounds like thanga, fish, or tami, people in Wipo. So another probable factor is that probably due to the occurrence of similar clusters, such kind of occurrence occur. Next, please. And coming to lexical errors, there are words that have similar or same meaning but are used in specific contexts or with specific actions or words. For instance, karay and kadai, they both mean cold. For example, yuiding karay means cold water, but ngai kadai means I am cold. So when used interchangeably in a sentence, the meaning is conveyed, but it is ungrammatical to a native speaker. Sometimes it may even seem funny to a native speaker. Next, please. So one does not say yuiding kadai yapilo means give me cold water, but it is to be said yuiding karay yapilo. So in these two sentences, kadai and karay, they both mean cold. But then karay is used to express a feeling of coldness from within or from inside, whereas kadai is karay is something that is felt externally. So one does not say chak kadai, but chak karay, which means cold rice. Next, please. So, in order to express that I'm feeling cold, a speaker says, "Ngai kadai ni." That means I am feeling cold. That is, the coldness is felt internally by the speaker. And in order to say that the baby's legs are very cold, that is when felt and touched externally, it says, "Nasan awang nedri karay." We use karay instead of kadai in this case. So these two lexical items might convey the same meaning, but they cannot be used interchangeably, which otherwise would create an error in the sentence. And there are also multiple words for action of eating according to the kind of food or the action of eating, such as kacha. Kacha is a general term for eating cha, like to eat meal or food or rice in general. Then we also have kasai, which also literally means to chew, but it also means to eat meat, fish, eggs, fruit, snacks, etc. So this kasai is very specific to these words that follow. And kamai means to eat curry or the main dish in a meal. So kamai is used only with this the main dish. And kami is
Tisha ma'am, you have 1 minute. Please wind up.
Oh, okay. So kami means to eat chutney or salad, and to katek means to lick. So this words they might all mean the same thing to eat, but then can you please move to the next slide? So so in these examples, that ngay hay kata or ngay an kata, but you have to say ngay hay kashay or ngay an kamay or ngay kum kami. So it means, and then even for the words like that imply softness, if we have kanen, kanon, and kaneng, they might seem the same thing, but then they are only used to describe specific words or objects. Next, please. So in conclusion, a recent pilot study has showed that about 15 people, according to the pilot study, out of the 79 respondents, 15 people have mothers who belong to different language speaking community. That means intermarriage. So about 18% of the women do not speak Wipo as their mother tongue. Or L1, so Wipo might be their L2 or even L3. And bilingualism and multilingualism are considered one of the major factors for the occurrences of the speech errors, since they have learned Wipo beyond after their critical learning period. And also due to the highly limited domains and infrequent usage of Wipo as a means of communication, this could be another factor due to the occurrence of the speech errors. And the mother tongue influence, especially among women who marry into the Wipo community, is another highly probable factor. Next, please. So when tracing the background of the speakers of the above recorded speech utterances, it was found that almost all of them had Wipo as their L2 or L3, as in the speakers who produced the speech errors, which means that they learn Wipo after the critical age, which means the same thing. So another factor could be Meitei Lon, which plays due to the contact with Meitei Lon. So this is another factor that that is probable. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Okay, very interesting. Interesting paper. The session is open for the questions or suggestions.
Okay, can I come in, Dr.
Yes. Okay,
Sarang, yeah. I was so intrigued to listen to your talks. I was slightly amused why. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I got so I was amused to hear.
Sir, your voice is lagging.
One of the amusement is that okay, at the level of lexical variation that happens in many places, there is not an issue. And also some like charau, charau, those are also some kind of pronunciation differences. Those are also thing is that people, the data shows that there is what you call people mistake tone. So how can people mistake tone? So is it very rampant? So or is it based on only one informant? You say your data was taken from text. So perhaps if it is taken from text, then the speaker, whether the speaker is fluent or not. So what are the reasons as to why these tonal mistakes are committed? Naturally, a speaker of tonal language will not commit that. So if the trend is very consistent in elicitation, so if you examine people to people, if it is very high, then the language is in serious problem. But if it is just on account of text collection based on one person or two person, it could be what you call the defect of the speaker, in the sense that the speaker might not have full control over the language because of some other socio-cultural factors. So just want to know what could be the factors why the speaker that you have collected or the data that you have shown has tonal mistakes which shouldn't be there as a native speaker of a language. So I am a native speaker of a tonal language, so I cannot confuse between fees and something like five. So fees will be a low tone or a falling tone, and when I want to talk about five, it will be always rising tone. So that mistake is already embedded in the repertoire of the speaker. So why such confusion and such mistakes arises?
Okay, so most of this data that has been highlighted here are collected from people whose L1 is not Uipo, which is why, like you said, they do not have full control over the language, and most of the mistakes, as in the tonal mistakes that they have made, are mainly made in the set of words that have the same spelling but different tones. So in this kind of this kind of sets of words, the mistake is more frequent. For example, like na has four tones, which also mean different words. So in this kind of words with multiple meanings and multiple tones, the mistake is more frequent because they are not L1 speakers of Uyghur, but they have intermarried. They have married into Uyghur community, and also the children also tend to make these mistakes because probably due to the exposure to this kind of the exposure that they have.
Okay, I got your point. So what about the rate? What about the native speakers, fluent native speakers? So for fluent native speakers, such mistake will be very less, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to come in very quickly in this juncture. Yes, as Pongthang sir has rightly pointed out, it cannot be this type of error cannot be made by the native speakers. So it may be the case that the speakers who are making this errors are the second L2 or the LT, and the Tesang also already pointed out in her presentation. So in this point, keeping all these things in mind, I think if you consider to rename your topic like speech error and mispronunciation in Uipo by L2 or something, then it will be very clear.
Okay, yeah, I think
at the first point, all people think that it is the error made by the native speaker, but at the end we came to know that it is not by the native speakers. Okay.
Some of the errors are also made by native speakers. Of course, very less in frequency, but then most of them, yeah.
The errors occur because people who are in what you call error analysis, they will know errors occur in native speaker as well because of some external factors when they are somewhere grieve or disturb or something. So those errors are there with native speakers, but those are always exceptions. That means they are not intentional; they are rather unintentional. Okay. So intentionally, this error, native speaker won't make errors, but because of external factors, as it happens with most of us, we also make mistakes. But those are to be excluded from very regular pattern of what you call errors that you find in your data.
Okay, thank you, Pongthang.
Yeah. Thank you, Desham, for it's an interesting paper. Now, I just had a comment that yeah, so you mentioned that many of these are L2 speakers, but one thing that I think you need to keep in mind is the concept of error versus mistake is very clearly, I mean, is very clear, especially in the study of acquisition and even language teaching. So when you have mistakes and errors, from what I see from the data that you have, it actually seems to be composed of both mistakes as well as actual errors. And by looking at these errors, we can actually see, I think, or comment that perhaps there's a case can be made of of language change, because these errors, in many cases, today's errors can be tomorrow's language change. Especially if you look at the I think the end of presentation where you had this number of words for chew or eat, yeah,
Eat.
or something ls, yeah. You see, that I wouldn't call that as mistakes. That's more towards of change, because many younger speakers would not know the usage, and so basically here you have you need to categorize the mistakes and errors into different, I think, categories or classes. Some of these are mistakes, some of these are errors, and from these errors you can see, or you can arrive at certain deductions that perhaps there's a language change happening in the society, irrespective of whether they're L2 speakers or L1 speakers. So just this comment on mistake versus errors, which seems to be mixed up in how you analyze the data. So just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
Tassan.
Yeah, I'll keep that into consideration.
Yeah, please note those suggestions or questions. You can, what to say, do in categorically, maybe in error or maybe in mistakes. Even if the speaker is L1 is a native speaker, they may commit such type of things, maybe the influence of other languages where he or she brought up. And again, many of what to say, married women are from different communities. So in that part also you can categorize. That means more or less a contrastive sort of thing. If the woman is from Tangkhul, then you can, what to say, study separately. You can come together later for different, what to say, L1 speakers. You can categorize so that it will be very, what to say, productive.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Let us move to the next. I think this one is the last one. Papuri Rava is there.
Papuri, are you there? I have displayed your PPT in the screen.
Consonantal system of Newar.
Is Papuri there? We can't hear you, Papuri. You are unmuted, but we can't hear your voice.
Yes, is there.
Papuri, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Please mute one of the devices and keep it at a distance. The device from where you responded, please continue from there. Papuri, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello?
Yes. Please.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
yes.
Very clear.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, thank you. This is Papuri Rabha from the Department of Linguistics, Assam University. And today's the topic of my presentation is Consonantal System of Newari, an endangered language of Sikkim. Next slide. These are my contents that includes introduction, methodology, consonantal system, consonant combination, and conclusion. Next slide, please. I'd like to give a brief introduction about the language. The Newari language belongs to the Tibeto-Burman group of the Sino-Tibetan family. Sir Grierson, in his Linguistic Survey of India, Volume 3, categorized Newari as a non-pronominalized subgroup of Himalayan languages of Tibeto-Burman family. Ma'am, previous slide. As per the classification done by Paul Benedict, the Newari falls under the Bahing Vayu group of Bahing. The name of the Newar, the Newar is the name of the community, and the language spoken by this community is known as Newari or Nepal Bhasa. It is one of the highly endangered languages spoken in different districts of Sikkim. Apart from India, people of Newar community are also found in different parts of Bhutan, Nepal, and also in Tibet. Sorry, I forgot to mention about that. As the total population of Newar is less than 10,000, so it does not qualify to appear in the language list after 1961. Next slide. This is my methodology. The present study is based on fieldwork conducted in East, that is Gangtok and Dichlin area, in West, Dentam, and in South, Namthang districts of Sikkim. My primary informants were basically the middle age and age sections. The data are basically collected from the primary source. Next, now I come to the topic, my main topic, that is consonantal system. There are 24 consonantal phonemes present in the Newari language. Newari contrasts 13 stops, that is pa, fa, ba, va, ta, tha, da, dha, cha, cha, ka, ga, ka, kha, and ga. There are 3 nasals, that are ma, na, and nga. 1 trill, ra, 4 fricatives, sa, cha, cha, and ha. 1 lateral, that is la, and 2 semivowels, va and ya. The consonantal phonemes of Newari is illustrated in table number 1. Next slide. This is the consonantal chart of Newari language. Now, next slide, please. Now I come to the consonantal minimal pairs. The phonemic contrast of Newari consonants are provided below. Pa versus ba, pali, that means foot, bali, that is crop. Pa versus fa, that is pasi, means pear. Fasi means pumpkin. Ba versus bha, bia, that means wood apple. Bhia, that is window. Next slide. Ta versus da, tae, that is keep. Dae, that means to have. Ta versus tha, that is tea. Juice, tea, that means gems or some brighter items. Da versus dha, that is deku, means prayer room. Deku is the storeroom. Cha versus cha, that is chi, means salt, and chi is you. Next slide. Ta versus ga, and that is kae, to take. Gae is to climb. Kha versus kha. Ka versus kha, that is ka, that means blind. Kha, that is glass. Ma versus na. Ima, that is eagle, and ina, that means to share. Sa versus ja, that is sora, that means curse. Jora, that is identical. Next slide. Sa versus ha, that is sale, that means to draw. Hale is to south. Cha versus cha, that is chong, that means bamboo shoot. Chong, more. La versus ra, that chola, that means to fall. Chora, that is dates. Va versus ya, that is gue, mustache. Gue, that is here. This is the distribution of consonants based on their initial, medial, and final positions. Here, ta, ka, na, nga, and la that occurs in all the three positions. The and cha occurs only in the initial position, and ra occurs in medial and final position, that does not occur in the initial position. Next slide, please, ma'am. Hello. Hello.
Monali?
Next slide.
Which slide?
Next slide.
The next one. Again, next slide.
Again, next. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. These are the examples of distribution of consonants based on their positions. Like pa, initial position, paki, that means woodlouse. In medial, kipa, picture. Tha, initial, fi, that means sand. In medial, sapu, that means book. Ba, initial, belly, that means dinner. And medial, deba, money. Bha, at the initial position, bhata, that means husband. And medial, bhaja, priest. Ta, in initial, tane, that means to add. In medial, kati, that means gain. At the final position, masat, that means children. Tha, thakul, initial thakuli, that means chief. Medial, litu, second wife. Then initial, the at initial position, de, nation. Dha at initial, dhau, that means curd. Medial, sidha, that means small. Cha at initial, chikang, that means oil. Medial, nanicha, that means people. Cha, the initial, che, that is house. In medial, pichami, that means refugee. Ka at initial position, keba, that means garden. Medial, chiku, that is coal. And final, balak, better. Kha, initial, kicha, that means dog. Medial, mikha, that is eye. Ga at initial position, gosi, that means vine. Medial, bugu, to defeat. Next slide. Ma at initial, male, that means required or need. Medial, sima, tree. Na, naki, that means nail at the initial position. Medial, gane, cancel. And final, kapan, that means rainbow. Nga, in initial, ngu, that means bellflower. Medial, sengu, that means skin. At final, sang, that means hair. Ra, at medial position, bare, that means monk. At final, bor, to let down. Sa, in initial, sipa, that means funeral prayer. Medial, hasa, to cry. Ja, initial, jala, that means material. Medial, baja, that means drum. Cha, that is jasu, rest. Ha, initial, ha, that means be. In medial, nahi, that means stay. La, in initial, libi, that means backyard. Medial, sukula, that means dry meat. And final, tal, that means o'clock. Va, in initial, wama, that means paddy. Medial, tawani, that means to drink. Ya, initial, yakan, that means quickly. And medial, supaye, that means cloud. Next slide. Consonant combination. Consonant combination refers to the specific arrangement of two or more consonant phonemes that occur in a language. In Newari, consonant clusters within the syllabic boundary are generally absent. However, consonant sequences with maximum of 2 consonants are found across the syllabic boundary. There are, in Newari, consonant sequences can be discussed in 3 different categories that are gemination, homoorganic, and contiguous. Next slide. Now, gemination. It is the combination of two identical phonemes. These sequences have similar features both in place and manner of articulation. There are some examples of gemination in Newari. Pa plus pa, chupa, that is to kiss, na plus na, kanna, that is pity or kindness, la plus la, that is jella, means to cheat. Next slide. Homoorganic. In homoorganic sequence, phonemes have similar feature either in place of articulation or manner of articulation, but they are not identical like gemination. Some of the examples of homoorganic in Newari are ta plus ka, matki, that means moth, pa plus cha, that means tepcha, that means navel, ma plus ba, that is Dambi, is the artworm. And contiguous, in this type of sequence, phonemes have adjacent or neighboring positions either in place or manner of articulation. Some of the examples of say, contiguous in Newari are nasal plus top, ma plus cha, bhom cha, that means bride, na plus cha, that means mancha, that is chain. No, ma'am, previous slide. Na plus cha, that is pepang chu, means animals. Na plus ga, janga, that means bird. Next slide. Nasal plus fricative. Ma plus ha, that is bhima, means kind. Ma plus sa, that is simsa, means body hair. Na plus ha, that is thokon hae, means lately. Na plus sa, that is gangsi, that means thin. And lastly, the nasal plus nasal, ma plus ma, domna, that means mattress, and gomna, that is cobra. Ma'am, next slide. In conclusion, I like to say that Newari belongs to the Sino-Tibetan group of Tibeto-Burman language family. There are 24 consonant phonemes identified in the Newari language. Those are the phonemes, consonant phonemes. Based on the place of articulation, consonants are divided into bilabial, labiodentals, alveolar, post-alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. On the basis of manner of articulation, consonants are divided into stops, nasal, trial, fricative, and lateral. The semivowels wa and ya is also found in the language. Next slide. All the consonantal phonemes do not occur in all the three positions, that is initial, medial, and final of the word in the language. The consonant phonemes pa, fa, ba, ba, tha, da, tha, dha, cha, cha, kha, ga, ma, sa, cha, ha, va, and ya occurs in initial and medial position of the word. The and jha can occur only in the initial position, and where ra does not occur in the initial position, it occurs only in the medial and final positions. And the ta, ka, na, nga, ra, and la can occur in all the three positions of the word in the language. And all the consonant sequences occur in the word medial position, occurs in the word medial position in the Newari language. Geminations are also very rare in Newari language, but and occur only in the medial position of a word. And these are my lastly, and these are my references. And thank you.
Thank you, Papuri.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, what is interesting? That means the language Newari and under that language.
Yes, sir.
Let me come to you later on. The session
Yes,
is
sir.
open for the house. Any questions and suggestions?
Can I ask one question?
Okay, please.
Papuri, regarding your consonants right here, the way you're pronouncing and the way it looks like this IPA is not matching with the sounds. So it is ja and ja, not za and ja. And I think you need to correct that. And I have a doubt if it is sa or sha, or is
Ma'am,
it
sha. Only
huh?
this sa.
It is sa.
Not sha. Yes, not
please
sha. Only sa.
No, what I mean is, you please cross-check if it is a fricative or if it is, the affricate, the dental affricate. You please find it, and this two needs to be corrected. This ja and ja, and the consonant sequence of having voice stops is quite similar with Khasi because of contact with Bengali, the bha, dha, but they don't have gha, but they have jha. So I think these sounds in Newari also have been borrowed from Nepali. Looks like that because they don't have gha, so they
Yes,
are
ma'am.
nativized sounds from Nepali. Otherwise, they could have been a counterpart of gha as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this ra tap or trill?
Ma'am, trill.
Okay, you please check this also.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's all. My part is done.
Thank you, Manali.
Respected speaker, can I ask one question?
Sure. Saksam.
I have actually two questions. And one is, could you please show us the reference of this contagious this consonant sequence, twin consonant sequence we have shown. And the other is the same question, similar question. That is, when you pronounce the alveolar trill, it sounds to me that it is alveolar approximant. Yeah, that's the question.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get you.
The
Hello?
The reference.
Hello?
Yeah.
So I didn't get you, sir.
Can you please give us the reference?
Ma'am, can you go to the reference?
Yeah, consonant sequence reference.
Okay, consonant sequence reference.
So yes.
Yeah,
Which one?
Hello,
Saksam,
sir.
are you there?
Yeah. So I just from which reference you took out this consonant sequence?
So it's my I've collected data actually. I have not gone through any of the this references, but for my introduction part and all, I have just gone through it, some of them.
What I'm trying to say is, I think you got the definition of these consonant sequences, like contagious, gemination, and everything from the second reference. That's what I think. That's the question.
Gemination.
Anyway, I think I got it.
So actually, I can't get you.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, regarding the reference, maybe I think some other publications are there on this language.
So yes, publications are there, but regarding this one phonology consonants part, I have not found it. These are
Okay.
my own survey.
That means even in Nepal also, you what to
Sir,
say
I
mention.
don't. Yes, sir, I do not know about the Nepal, but in Sikkim area, as my survey is in Sikkim area, so
Okay.
in Sikkim there is no such means till now I haven't found any materials.
That means Newari of Sikkim variety, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can what to say incorporate with languages spoken in Newari spoken in Nepal also, so that it will be very beneficial.
Yes, sir. I will try.
Because you what is it mentioned, it is less than 10,000 in Sikkim, right?
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, there are people, Newari, there are people, but the speakers are very less. It's like less than 10 speakers, I have to say, in that way.
10 speaker means in Sikkim or?
In Sikkim.
Okay. Anyway,
Because I have found only 2 speakers of the language. So from
okay.
them, I have collected the data.
Okay, no problem. I think maybe more than 50,000 are spoken in Nepal, so that
Yes.
you will get the resources from there also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so extend that part also, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, please, thanks to anything question.
Yeah, just I think maybe it's related to what Chaksang was asking. With regard to your gemination and examples, and as well as the homoorganic and contiguous segments,
Yes, sir.
Are these separate morphemes? So,
No, sir. Actually, not separated morphemes. This one, like in contiguous, I have given it nasal plus stop. So I have break the to explain it. That like for example, in contiguous nasal plus stop, ma cha is like vom cha. To explain that
yeah, because this was not when you say contiguous, phonemes having adjacent positions. Well, they are not. They are not. They don't share the same place or manner here. Having ma and cha. So it was a bit confusing. Anyway, my comment was on this, that when you talk about these homoorganic or even nasal plus stop, usually this is a morphological. There's a morphological aspect to it. So usually when you have 2 morphemes coming in, then one of the sound changes to the preceding, and it is in that context that you find mostly the use of homoorganic clusters and even maybe gemination. So maybe you want to cross check this, because here this is just I don't know sequences of consonants across syllable boundaries. So it doesnn't quite tell us what kind of a phonological process. Maybe it's not a result of a phonological process, right? So
yes,
when
sir.
you say homoorganic, where you have the same place of articulation, that's by default. It's not as a result of some morphemes coming together. The word itself, it's like that. So there, it would be difficult to say that they share the same place of articulation, because they have their own place of articulation in that respect.
Yes, sir. I will go through it, sir.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, this will be the last question. We have just 1
Yes.
minute.
Okay, it's not a exactly question. Just I want a quick comment. Grierson classified as a non-prominent group. In these languages, Manga Newari comes in. So in Mangar, when I did little research, I didn't find any consonant classes in their language. So, as Alindra sir shared today about the sesquisyllabic, so some kind of situations might be in this Newari language also might be, because Mangar and Newari are both cognate languages, but in Mangar we don't find any consonant clusters. So it might be the sesquisyllabic maybe. Just in further research you can check all those things. That's my quick comment. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll check.
It's not sir, it's your brother.
Sorry, brother.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Papuri.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Papuri. Okay, thank you so much, all the paper readers. Saksing Chiro, Tibeto-Burman, Tesang Sarang, Tesang Rang Tontang, Papuri Raba, for a wonderful presentation. I hope you will proceed with improvements by taking the suggestions given by the researchers as well as experts. And again, thank you all the participants for your patience. Over to either Manali or Bijan.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sarpajit, for wonderfully chairing this session on phonology. There were very interesting papers and looking at new dimensions of TB language documentation. The discussions also have been very productive. So thank you to all the presenters and thank you to all the participants present here. We will be meeting again for the last session, which will be at 2:30 for morphology. Presenters are requested to be there 15 minutes before the given time. And I also would like to make an announcement that the members of ICTiBLANEI are requested to attend the general body meeting right after the conference, and I mean the closing ceremony is over after the last session. That will be at 5:30. So I request all the ICTiBLANEI members to be there at 5:30. There is another link which we have given to you, which we will again send as a reminder. And we will see you in the last session as well as the closing ceremony. Thank you once again.
Yeah, it is requested to all the participants who are present in this Zoom room to kindly present at the last session. That will be followed by our closing ceremony. So thank you all. See you again.